If you think you've read all the good horror books, you're probably just looking in the wrong decades. I'm about to give you 17 spooky books that pair perfectly with films you can actually watch. Some are direct adaptations you might not have known about, while others are more like thematic soulmates that'll scratch the same exact itch. Hi, I'm Anna, and this is Tucker, and we hope you're having a great day. Whether you're team read first, team watch first, or you want to torture yourself by doing both simultaneously, which P.S. more props to you if you do that, I've got your entire spooky season sorted. Plus, if you stick around to the end of the video, I've got a bonus 18th pairing that I literally hunted down a book for just because I love the movie that much. Trust me, you'll want to hear this one. Let's talk about a few hidden adaptations you might not know about. The Thing and Who Goes There? John Carpenter's The Thing? It's actually based on a 1938 novella called Who Goes There by John W. Campbell. All that paranoia, isolation, the who can you trust terror? It's all right there in this tightly woven 40-page story. Campbell basically invented sci-fi horror, and this thing will mess with your head just as much as the movie. The Birds by Daphne du Maurier. Everyone knows Hitchcock's The Birds, but how many people have read du Maurier's short story? I recently read this short story, and let me tell you, it's got this creeping dread that builds so differently from the film. Where Hitchcock goes big and chaotic, du Maurier keeps it intimate and psychological. Both will make you side-eye every pigeon you see a little bit differently. I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. The Will Smith movie? It's based on a 1954 novel that's honestly better than any of its film adaptations. Matheson's version is more philosophical, more lonely, and that ending? Completely different from what you saw on screen. This book basically created the modern zombie apocalypse genre. The Jewel of 7 Stars. Multiple adaptations for this book, believe it or not. So here's one that might surprise you. Bram Stoker didn't just write Dracula. His mummy novel, The Jewel of 7 Stars, has been adapted to the screen multiple times over the years. Blood from the Mummy's Tomb in 1971, The Awakening in 1980, and Bram Stoker's Legend of the Mummy in 1998. I'm actually reading this one right now for spooky season, and honestly, Stoker knew how to make ancient Egyptian curses feel genuinely menacing. Ancient queen, archaeologists who should have left well enough alone, but didn't, and resurrection that brings only terror. Perfect for this time of year. Now for a few obvious but essential adaptations. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Everyone's talking about Rebecca thanks to Netflix. See, here, right here, Netflix. But here's the thing. Both the Hitchcock classic and this new version can't capture what du Maurier does in your head. I recently finished listening to the audiobook of Rebecca, and the book just has this way of getting inside the second Mrs. De Winter's paranoia in ways film simply can't match. If you want to understand how unreliable narrators were doing it perfectly in 1938, this is required reading and watching. The Silence of the Lambs or Hannibal. Thomas Harris created something genuinely terrifying in these books. Yes, Anthony Hopkins is very iconic in the film, but the books let you sit inside Clarice's head, inside Hannibal's twisted psychology. Harris makes you understand how someone so brilliant can also be absolutely monstrous. Interview with the Vampire. Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles are definitely having a moment, especially with the AMC series going on right now. And honestly, it's about time. The books are lusher, they're more sensual, more philosophical than any adaptation has managed so far. Rice didn't just write vampire books, she wrote vampire literature. I actually talked about this one in my video on 200 years of vampire literature and my journey through that genre, and I'll leave a link in the description box below if you want to see how Rice fits into the bigger vampire evolution picture. And a few more modern discoveries. Let the Right One In. This Swedish film is incredible, but John Lindquist's novel goes deeper into the loneliness and brutality. It's a vampire story, but it's really about isolation and about what we do to survive. Both the book and the film will definitely break your heart while also terrifying you at the same time. It's a twofer. Phantoms by Dean Koontz. Now, I love Dean Koontz, and I personally feel like these days he gets a bit overlooked. But Phantoms is one of his older novels, and it's genuinely creepy. Small town, mysterious disappearances, something ancient and hungry. The movie's decent, worth a watch, but decent. But the book builds that claustrophobic dread so much better. For this one in particular, I definitely recommend reading the book first, because you'll appreciate how Koontz builds that atmosphere up in the novel. The Passage by Justin Cronin. Justin Cronin's Vampire Apocalypse trilogy only got one season on TV before it got canceled, but the books are epic. We're talking literary vampire horror on a massive scale. If you want something that will consume weeks of your life, start here. And I've got one reverse situation for you. The Babadook. So here's a fun one. Jennifer Kent's The Babadook started as a short film concept. Then it became a movie, and then she wrote the actual creepy children's book from the film. So you can literally own the cursed book from the movie. It's beautifully terrifying, don't you think? And now for my favorite part of this video. Books and movies that aren't related, but they feel like they're channeling the same dark energy. Psychological horror. Black Swan and The Yellow Wallpaper. If Natalie Portman's descent into madness spoke to your soul, you need Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper. Both feature women losing their grip on reality. Both make you question what's mental illness and what's society driving someone insane. Gilman was doing unreliable female narrators in 1892, and it's still terrifying. Shutter Island and The Woman in White. Both of these stories mess with your perception of reality through unreliable narrators in institutional settings. Wilkie Collins was writing psychological thrillers before we even had a name for them. If you loved questioning everything in Shutter Island, this Victorian mystery will do the same thing to your brain. And if you're curious about other obscure classics like The Woman in White, I did a whole video on obscure classics that you should read before they become famous again. And I'll put the link in the description box below, since I featured The Woman in White in that video too. Supernatural Dread. The Others and The Turn of the Screw. Nicole Kidman's haunted house movie pairs perfectly with Henry James's governess ghost story, Turn of the Screw. Both feature caretakers of children in isolated houses. Both keep you guessing what's supernatural versus psychological. James wrote the template for ambiguous horror in 1898. The Sixth Sense and The Little Stranger. If you want that slow-building supernatural dread, Sarah Waters's The Little Stranger captures the same energy as The Sixth Sense. Both stories make you feel like there's something wrong long before you find out that there is something wrong. Waters writes ghosts that might just be grief. Cursed objects and ancient evil. Here's one of my favorite pairings in this video: The Ring and The King in Yellow. 7 days after watching that cursed tape, you die. Robert W. Chambers wrote about a cursed play that drives readers to madness and death in the 1890s. Both feature media that destroys anyone who experiences it. Chambers invented cosmic horror before Lovecraft made it famous. And speaking of Lovecraft, let's talk about some cosmic and creature horror. Alien and At the Mountains of Madness. Ridley Scott's isolated space horror channels the same cosmic dread as H.P. Lovecraft's Antarctic Nightmare. Both feature encounters with something so alien, so ancient, that human minds can barely process it. Lovecraft wrote cosmic horror that still influences everything we're afraid of. Social commentary horror. Here's an interesting pairing, I think, for you. Get Out and Beloved. Jordan Peele's psychological thriller and Toni Morrison's haunting masterpiece both use horror to explore racial trauma. Both make you understand how history haunts the present, how some monsters are very human. Morrison won the Nobel Prize for making literature this powerful and terrifying, and there's a reason why Beloved in particular ends up on banned book lists year in and year out. Okay, I need to settle this debate. Are you team read the book first or team watch the movie first? I'm genuinely curious because I think it changes the entire experience. I am usually team read the book first, but I frequently break my own rules, so can I even call it a rule? Let me know which team you are in the comments below. And also, please let me know of any perfect book, movie, horror pairings you know about, because I'm always hunting for my next great scare. Drop your suggestions in the comments below. I'll probably end up doing a part 2 of this video if you give me enough good ideas. All right, I did promise you a bonus 18th pairing. And here's the thing, I love this movie so ridiculously much that I went hunting specifically for a book to pair with it just so I could tell you to watch the movie. The Mummy and the Ring of Thoth. The 1999 Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz version is my absolute favorite mummy movie. We're just gonna pretend that the Tom Cruise version doesn't exist, yeah? I love Tom Cruise, don't get me wrong, but seriously, we should kind of just forget that version even exists, I think. But Arthur Conan Doyle's The Ring of Thoth captures that same Egyptian museum atmosphere, that sense of ancient powers stirring in modern settings. It's about an Egyptologist working the night shift at a museum who witnesses an ancient Egyptian priest who's been kept alive for millennia, trying to use a chemical to finally die and join his long-dead love. It's got that same mix of archaeology, ancient Egypt, and that tragedy of being caught between life and death. Plus, it's a short story, so you can read it in one setting and then immediately queue up the Fraser movie for the perfect Egyptian adventure night. Trust me on this one. It's pure comfort horror, if that's even a thing. Is that a thing? I think it could be a thing. October will be here before we know it. And you can stick with what you know, which is totally valid. Or you can dig into some of these older, weirder, more forgotten corners of horror literature. The thing about older horror is that it's often better at the slow burn, the psychological terror, the dread that builds in your chest. Modern horror tends to go for the jump scare, and classic horror goes for the sleepless nights. So, grab a book, cue up a movie, light a candle, and prepare to discover that the best horror stories have been waiting for you in libraries this whole time. If this video helped you plan your spooky season reading, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're new here for more book recommendations. I'll see you in the next video when I'm probably going to be reviewing whatever from this list gave me the most nightmares. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!